So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Have Power of Kami, and welcome back to my channel Fiction Star. So let's start the series. 2,000 years have passed since I died and become the first Shinigami, and rise through the ranks in each division. I am the only shinobi from the elemental nations to become the apprentice of the goddess of death. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of the Yellow Flash and Yandame Hokage Minato Namikaze and the Red Death Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. After my death during the last Shinobi War, I became legend like the other Kages of my former home did. Hashirama Senju, user of Mokutan, WOD release, leader of the Senju clan, founder of Konohagakure, and well as the Shodaime of the village, he was also the one who crippled Madara Uchiha in the Valley of the End and had the ability to tame the 9 Biju. Tobirama Senju, the Nidaime Hokage, younger brother of Hashirama Senju and master of the water element. His skill with Swait Unjutsu was so great that he could pull water out of the air and use it at its fullest without even needing a source of water. He also created a jutsu that allowed you to bring back the dead and use them in battle. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Sandaime Hokage of Konoha, apprentice to the Sho and Nidaimes and veteran of 3 Shinobi Wars. He was also known as the Shinobi no Kami and professor back then due to his skills and knowledge of jutsu and how each one works. He was also the sensei to the legendary Sannin, and was also the man whom I thought of as a grandfather. Minato Namikaze, Yandame Hokage of Konoha, apprentice to Jiraiya the Gama Sannin, the Kiroi Senku of Konoha, and my father. He was considered a genius in the ninja arts, a prodigy that surpassed prodigies. During the Third Shinobi War, he created 2 jutsu called the Hiraishin and Rasengan. It was because of him that Konoha won the war, and he was the only man, aside from me, to be given a flee-on-sight order by the enemy due to the fact that he wiped out an army of Nin from IWA in less than a few seconds. After the war, he saved the village from the Kyubi no Kitsune, the strongest of the Biju, by sealing said creature into his son, me. Tsunade Senju, Godaime Hokage of Konoha, granddaughter and grandniece of the Sho and Nidaime, Slug Sannin and student of the Sandaime. She was a medic who could treat any wound and cure any disease. She also possessed the strength of a titan and could smash boulders with her index finger, and cause earthquakes and fissures with a tap of her heel. She was the strongest kunoichi in the nations. And finally me, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the Rokudaime Hokage of Konoha, former Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Kitsune, second Flash and Gama Sannin of Konoha. I managed to complete and fully master the Rasengan, Hiraishin, and Sage Arts. I defeated Kakuzu the Bounty Hunter, Kisame Hashigaki the Monster of the Mist, Sasuke Uchiha, Pain/Nagato the wielder of the Rinnegan, and Madara Uchiha, founder of the Uchiha clan and wielder of the Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. I defeated all of them and died killing Madara Uchiha. The fight between me and him was legendary, surpassing the fight he had with Hashirama Senju for the title of Hokage at the Valley of the End. Our battle lasted for 5 days straight, and we each gave it our all, and in the end it was a draw, before we died. Madara complimented me on my skills, saying that I have surpassed the other Kages and him in terms of skill and power. To be honest, I pitied the man. He was born in a world full of war, bloodshed, and death, and all he wanted to do was protect his clan and family from dying, and his younger brother gave him his eyes so that he could accomplish his goals. In the end, his clan, the very people he swore to lead and protect, turned their backs on him. Honestly, I too would have lost it if the people I swore to protect with my life betrayed me like they did. After my spirit left my body, I ended up absorbing the Kyubi into my being. Something unexpected happened to me. I not only gained the powers of the Shinigami, I gained the powers of the Hollow, making me the first vizard or masked warrior. A vizard is a Shinigami who has gained the powers of a Hollow, and when said Reaper defeats their inner Hollow, their speed, strength, stamina, and other abilities that high-level Hollows gain, like Zero. When this happened, I met the goddess of death, and she trained me herself in the 4 disciplinary arts of the Shinigami. They were Zanjutsu, Kido, Hakudo, and Hoho. Zanjutsu is swordsmanship, and the person learns how to wield a Zanpakuto or soul cutter. Each person has their own form of the sword art, including me, but I however excelled at the style since I was a master swordsman in my last life. Then there was Kido, which was similar to ninjutsu, only it required spirit energy to use them, and they were ranked 1 to 100. There were 3 forms of Kido: way of destruction, way of binding, and way of healing. Then there is Hakuda, or in other words hand-to-hand combat. I also excelled in that as well. Last but not least, Hoho. it is based on agility or fast movements. Even though it was never stated clearly, this also relates to the Shinigami having the ability to walk on air using spiritual power by collecting and solidifying reisha beneath their feet. This allows a Shinigami to gain traction on thin air to either freely move about or to stop themselves from falling. Another form of Hoho was Shunpa. It is a movement technique that allows the user to move faster than the eye can follow, and speed is the main point of the technique. The method is characterized by how fast one can get from one point to another using the least amount of steps. Training and skill are what determines how fast the user of Shunpa can move, and those of little skill in the technique, or those who haven't used it an extended amount of time, would obviously be out of practice, causing those individuals to be considerably slower, which requires the use of more steps to move the same distance and become winded far easier in a shorter amount of time. To me, Shunpa was similar to my dad's technique minus the kunai being used, and I have to say I loved the technique. I mastered it to the point where I can move at short distances without any effort, and leave after images of myself at my current location. The queen herself gave me the title Shinjin. During my training, I met Yamamoto Shigekuni Genryosai, and together we founded Soul Society, and the Goodie 13 with me becoming the captain of each division, and I created most of them with each one having a purpose. The first division was created for those who had the most experienced members of the Goudei 13, and the Soteicho title was given to Yamamoto Shigekuni Genryosai after I was promoted to the position of Taicho of the Zero Division. The second division was similar to my former life. They were similar to the ANBU Black Ops and dealt with things that would never go out to the public, and they were trained in the art of stealth and assassination. They were also the final defense of Soul Society. The third division was made for those whose Zanpakuto had unique abilities. Next was the fourth division. The fourth division is the medical/supply division. They are responsible for both treating the injured and doing most manual labor such as cleaning Suriidii. Because of this, they have keys to most of the buildings and know the underground sewer system well. The fourth division is further divided into teams that have specific assigned jobs. The fifth division had Kido users and barrier caster, making them a defensive division. I personally mastered and created a few of them, and even without the incantations or spell number, they are destructive in my hands. I even created the Kido Corps, who became masters in other forms. Then I made the sixth division, which was suited for large assault forces and nobles. I specifically made it for the heads of the Kuchiki clan because I wanted the nobles to participate with those of lower status and learn that they were not as important as their subordinates. The seventh division was made to police the Soul Society, and I learned much of the inner workings of the Soul Society through there, as well as the Shrine of Penitence that held criminals. The eighth division was made for strategists and Kido users. Ninth was the Investigation Division. They would control the media and communication. You could say that it was based off my godfather's spy network. 10th was a bit like the second division, except they observed and tracked hollows. 11th was the combat division, focusing solely on Zanjutsu. 12th was a division used for research and development, and 13th was used to police the Rukongai. I was also the only Shinigami throughout the history of Soul Society to gain 3 Zanpakuto, Yamaji's apprentices. Jushiro Yukitake and Shusui Kairaka gained 2 and are the only captains aside from myself to gain more than 1 Zanpakuto. My 3 blades are based off the 3 Japanese goddesses/god, Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, and Susanoo, on the training grounds of the Zero Division. The sound of blades clashing and flesh hitting flesh is heard on the training grounds. Slash marks, craters, and scorch marks litter the field, and 2 blurs could be seen moving and clashing against each other simultaneously. One blur skids back and started to pant heavily. The blur was apparently female. She was 5 feet 6 inches and was wearing a black hamaka with shikashu and wore tabi socks with sandals. She had an hourglass figure and D-cup breasts that weren't too big or too small. She had a heart-shaped face with ivory-colored skin. Her eyes were a forest green color, and she had long flowing reddish-orange hair that stopped to the middle of her back. In her hands was a katana with a silver blade. The cross guard was in the form of a yin-yang symbol, and the hilt was silver with black diamond patterns going down it. Her name is Kiryo Hikifian, former captain of the 12th Division of Soul Society. She scans the area looking for her opponent. She senses a presence behind her, and with a twist of her body, she turns and blocks the blade of a taller figure. He was 6 feet 2 inches with spiky blonde hair that went down to his shoulders, Minato's hairstyle. He had cerulean blue slitted eyes and canines jutted from his upper lip. His attire and footwear was more shinobi-like than Kiryo's was, and he had arm guards on his arms as well as fingerless gloves that were black. He also wore a haori that had flames licking the bottom, and on the back was the kanji for Zero Division and Shinsaku. His name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, founder of Soul Society, former captain of all divisions, and captain of the Zero Division. In his hands was a katana that was silver also, and the cross guard was circular with 2 moons on the opposite sides, Shinso's cross guard. The hilt had crimson red cloth with silver diamond patterns going down it. He also had a nodachi that was strapped to his back and another katana next to an empty sheath. Naruto grins at Kiryo, who tries to kick Naruto in the torso, but the blonde shunpos away from her, and she once again reacts by blocking an overhead strike. Your reflexes are getting better, Funchan, but he says and points his left index finger at her stomach, and her eyes widen. Show thrust, he says, and Kiryo is sent flying backwards, hitting the wall hard. She lets out a painful grunt, and then she looks up only for her eyes to widen when he pointed his glowing index finger at her. Byakurai, he says, and fires a beam of white lightning at her chest. She shunpos to the left and avoids the blast that put a hole in the wall. She appears once again in front of Naruto, whose eyes widen, and she grins, aiming her palm at his head. Heido number 33, Shikaho, she says as a red orb appears in her hand and fires it point blank at Naruto's face, causing a small explosion. When it clears, her eyes widen in shock when she only sees his haori on the ground with a hole in the middle that had smoke rising from it. Geki, strike. Naruto calls out, and Kiryo finds herself unable to move due to the fact that a red light paralyzed her entire body. You killed my haori, Funchan. What did it ever do to you? Naruto asks as he walks towards her still form, and she glares at him. How do you keep doing that? That shot was point blank. Not even you could have avoided it, she states as the red light dies down, and she is able to move again. What can I say? I'm that good, he says with a grin on his face. She sheathes her sword and punches him playfully in the arm. Smartass, she says as she crosses her arms against her chest. Naruto grins and wraps an arm around her shoulder. Now, Funchan, there's no need to act like that to your Taicho, he says, getting a giggle out of her. You never change, Ritokuen, she says, and a pout appears on his face. Why do you always call me that? He mumbles, because it makes you sound cute and I love it when you pout like that. Naruto scoffs when she says that. I am not cute, Funchan. Ruggedly handsome, yes, but not cute, he states, and she rolls her eyes at him. You are so full of it, she says, and removes his arm that was around her. So are we finished with our training today? She asks, and the blonde nods. Yes, we are, Funchan. Well, I'm heading back to my quarters to change. Oh, and you owe me a new haori since you burned a hole in the other one, he replies, but then he tilts his head to the right when she threw a pebble at his forehead. That's your own fault, Namikaze. You always substitute yourself with the damn thing, and why do I have to pay for it? I'm the one always telling you not to wear it when we're training, but you do it anyways. She yelled at the blonde, who blinks and tilts his head to the left. So what's your point? He asks, only to block a fist with his palm while her brow twitched. Jerk, you love pissing me off, don't you? She asks, can you blame me? You're cute when you get mad, Funchan, he says, and she blushes when he rubs her hand affectionately. Tell you what, Funchan. You get me a new custom-made haori, and I'll give you those heaven-on-earth massages you love so much, he says, and her eyes become stars. Okay, she says, and grabs the destroyed haori and shumpos away. Naruto laughs at that. Man, Funchan must love those massages I give her, he says to himself, and that was when one of his subordinates appeared kneeling before him. Namikaze Taicho. The Queen of Souls wishes to speak with you, she says. It's very important, sir, he says. I see. I'll be there as soon as possible. And have someone clean up the training ground, he orders, and the Shinigami nods and shunpos away. I wonder what Izanami-sama wants. She only calls me when a dire situation occurs, he says, and shunpos to his quarters to change out of his training clothes. Said captain was now walking through the marbled halls of the royal palace, heading to the throne room. Naruto couldn't help but wonder why she called him for. Hey Gaki! Yelled a masculine voice from his head. Naruto rolled his eyes and knew who it was. You need to stop worrying so much, kid. I swear being with you for almost 3 millenniums and you're still a worrywart. You seriously need to find a girlfriend, Susanoo says. He wore a samurai battle outfit with storm clouds and lightning on them and had slicked back spiky blue hair with yellow streaks. Naruto almost tripped on his feet and his brow twitched. Shut it, Susanoo. I get enough of that from your sister and I don't need it from you, Naruto said in his mind. So we finally agree on something, Aniki? Amaterasu asked. She wore a white kimono with sun and flame patterns on it, and her hair was jet black and tied into a ponytail with a crown in the shape of a sun on her head. Susanoo looks at her and snorts. Who said I was agreeing with you, Imatu? He says, making her glare at him. Why are you such an ass, Susanoo? Are you still mad at me because I set your mirror on fire? Cammy, you need to grow up. It's just a mirror, she yelled, and his eyes glow while sparks of electricity cackle around them. That wasn't just a mirror. Tusan gave me that mirror and you burn it with your stupid flames. He yelled back, and a fiery aura surrounded her body and her eyes glowed white. My flames are not stupid. At least I don't cause unneeded destruction with my powers, she yelled back. While they were arguing, thunderstorms and fire appeared and flew around the scene. During this event, Tsukuyomi was sitting cross-legged in mid-air. She was 5 feet 5 inches and had ivory-colored skin. Her eyes were a reddish-brown color, and she wore a red kimono with moon and wave patterns on them, and she had red hair that was tied into a ponytail with a crescent moon pattern in on top. She saw the fight and sighed. You two really need to grow up, she said, making them stop to glare at their sister. Stay out of this, Tsukuyomi. They both yell at the same time, and she rolls her eyes while a small full moon appears under her sitting form. And you wonder why Naruto-kun doesn't come to you two for advice, she states, and they gawk at her and fume since it was true. Naruto snickered at this and spoke through his mind. You two seriously need to let that grudge go and act more like Yomi-chan, he replies while the moon goddess giggles. All kidding aside, what do you three think of this mission I am about to receive from Izanami-sama? He asked them. Whatever it is, it must be very serious for the goddess of souls to summon you. The last time you were summoned you had to face that Vasto Lord, Amatitsu said, and Naruto nods. Yeah, I haven't had a fight that crazy since I faced Madara. To think he forced me to not only use you three at the same time but also my vizard form at its fullest. The battle lasted for 10 days in Hueco Mundo. He says since that fight was one of the only major ones he had while serving the captain of the Zero Division. He made fighting Yamaji look like a walk in the park, he answered, until Amaterasu spoke up. Why are you calling him old when you both are the same age? She asks. Because I don't show my age, and you know that when I absorbed Kyuubi into my being, my longevity made my structural appearance stay this way, he explained, and Tsukuyomi nods in agreement. I can't picture you looking like an old man, Naruto-kun, she says, and Naruto chuckles as he makes his way to the throne room. He stops at 2 large red and black doors, and they slowly open, revealing a beautiful throne room that was polished and glowing almost as if the throne itself radiated power and glory. Sitting on the golden throne was the Queen of Souls, Izanami. She was 5 feet 6 inches and wore a royal kimono that was black and silver. Her hair was jet black with silver streaks in it, and her skin complexion was a creamy white color. Her nails were painted black and so were her toes. She also wore black lipstick and eyeshadow. She sat on the throne with one leg crossed over the other, and her figure would make any woman jealous and any male hyperventilate. Naruto slowly approached his former master and stopped a couple of feet from the throne. Izanami slowly opened her eyes, which were silver gray. They sparkled with life and were beautiful and powerful. The aura that surrounded her was soothing yet deadly. You summoned me, Shursho, master? Naruto asks, and the goddess of death who smiles at him and lightly chuckles. Naruto-kun, how many times do I have to tell you to call me by my name? I am no longer your master, and you are no longer my student. You may not be my equal in terms of power, but you are the strongest Shinigami in the spirit realm, she says, making Naruto rub the back of his head in embarrassment, and chuckle lightly. Sorry, Izanami-chan, old habits die hard, he responds, and she shakes her head at her first former student. Yes, I know. All joking aside, there was a reason why I summoned you. You see, Naruto-kun, I have recently felt an imbalance between the spirit and mortal realm, and it's not a good one. The souls of those that have passed on to be reincarnated have, how should I say, disappear, she said. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this and blinks. Disappear? How in the world is that possible? Only you have the power to do that, he states, and she nods. Yes, I know, but for some reason more and more souls just keep vanishing, and most of it is occurring in soul society. Someone or something is causing this imbalance, and to make it worse, more hollows are appearing in the mortal plane than normal, and whoever is doing this must be stopped, or else they could cause both realms to collapse and end all of existence. I want you to find out who is causing this and eliminate them. However, you will have a limiter on you and also use your Bankai as a last resort. Your wizard powers are permitted also, she says, and Naruto nods. So use Bankai as a last resort? Man, the last time I used my Bankai was when I was facing that Vasto Lord. The bastard almost killed me that time. But even though that guy was a pain to beat, he was one heck of a fighter. He made the fight I had with that Team Madara and the 8 Bijou look like a walk in the park, he says, and Izanami nods because when she saw the state he was in when he returned from Hueco Mundo, she was surprised beyond belief. Naruto was barely clinging to life, and it took him half a year to fully recover and gain his strength back. He looked like he just fought his way through the 9 levels of hell. Too bad I didn't get the chance to finish him off. But he received just as much damage as I did, and I know he's not behind this because he's still recovering from his wounds. Naruto answers and Izanami lets out a sigh. So when should I leave, Izanami-chan? Naruto asks. Leave as soon as possible. This event worries me greatly and I'm not one to jump to concussions. I sense that a great and terrible battle will occur and it'll decide the fate of both realms. As a kami I cannot interfere because it'll make the situation even worse, so you have to stop this, Naruto-kun. She then stands up and lightly walks down the steps and towards the captain of the Zero Division. Naruto watches as she approaches him until she is standing before him. Izanami reaches her hand OT to him and slowly caresses the left side of his face. Naruto-kun, you must succeed. If you don't, then there is nothing I can do. Do what you must to stop this from happening. I am giving you the right to take over the Godai 13 if you must, she says, and he nods and gently places his strong firm hand into hers. I will not fail, Izanami-chan. I won't let what you foresaw, but something does tell me that me and my other acquaintance will meet again soon. Also, I would like Hikifune to come with me with your permission, he says, and she nods. Permission granted. And Naruto, she pulls him into a hug, shocking him, and he returns it. For my sake, don't die. I almost lost you once when you came back barely alive after fighting that Vasto Lord. I don't want to lose you again. Please be careful, she says, and tightens her grip on him. I will for your sake, he says as they release each other from the hug. I'll send you a message via Hell Butterfly when I get the chance, Chao, he says, and shumpos away while Izanami sighs and brushes a strand of hair away. That boy always makes me worry. Willing to sacrifice his own needs for others, he nearly lost his own life to save his subordinates during the war between the Shinigami and high-ranking Hollows. No wonder he made a great leader in his previous life. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, you are without a doubt one of a kind, she says as she walks towards the window and looks at the clear and beautiful sky. Naruto was walking out of the palace and looks up at the sky as well. I don't know why, but something tells me that this is gonna be one hell of a mission, he says, and heads towards his compound to inform Hikifune about their new mission. Naruto was heading back to his quarters to inform Hikifune of their current mission. As he made his way to her quarters, she appeared in front of him via Shrimpa and had an ear-splitting grin on her face, and in her arms was his new Haori. Hey Naruto-kun, I got you a new custom-made Haori. Now about my reward, can you start on my neck, shoulders, and back, because I have this crick that's really bothering me and my shoulders are really stiff and my back is so sore that it's gonna have to wait, Funchan, Naruto stated while she kept talking. It's gonna have to wait, and, hey, wait a minute. Are you telling me that I'm not getting my massage? She yelled as she did the demon head technique with her eyes glowing red and flames were shooting out of her mouth. Naruto's sweat dropped as he saw flames in the background. Do you have any idea how long I had to wait for this stupid thing to be made? 5 hours. And it killed half of my paycheck, damn it. I can't believe you'd pull a stunt like this. I knew you were a trickster, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, but to use my weakness against me is MMPPHH. She would have ranted on, but Naruto placed his hand over her mouth, and she blinked a few times and noticed his expression was serious. Are you done? He asks in a serious tone. She blinks again and nods while he removes his hand from her mouth. The reason why I said it would have to wait is because we have a mission to go on, Kiryo Hikifune, and it's one that'll decide the fate of the spirit and mortal realm, he said, making her eyes widen. He only said her full name when they had to go on top priority missions. Is it really serious, Naruto Taicho? She asks, getting a nod from him. Very serious. Go get your things packed and meet me in the Zen garden. I'll explain everything there before we go, he says, getting a nod from her, and hands him the Haori. You owe me, Naruto-kun. I expect to be given a free massage soon, she says with a smirk on her face, and he chuckles. I got you covered, Funchan. If you're lucky, I'll give you a full body massage, he says with a sly grin on his face, and her whole face is cherry red. She went from having a blush on her face to angry. I knew you were a pervert, Naruto, she growled out, getting a chuckle from him. No, I'm not. I just have a healthy appreciation for the female body. There's a difference between that and being perverted, Naruto explained while her brow twitched and turned away, storming off to her quarters muttering about Taichos being jerks and teasing their subordinates. Naruto snickers and heads to his quarters to get his gear. 2 hours later, Hikifune was in the Zen garden waiting for Naruto. She had on a dark green cloak with a hood on and her Shinigami outfit, and she had her things in a suitcase she created that has an unlimited amount of space in it. That was when Naruto appeared in a dark blue cloak with a hood on, and also had the bangs on the sides of his head hang out of the hood. Kiryo blinks and sees that Naruto hasn't brought anything with him. Naruto, where is your stuff? She asks. Naruto smiles and pulls a large scroll out of his cloak. Her eyes widen as he puts it away. Hey, I may not be able to use ninjutsu anymore, but Fuinjutsu works even better. Thanks to Izanami-chan, I can still use them, he says with a grin on his face until it becomes serious. Anyways, we'll be heading into the Godai 13 once we pass the Sankaman Gate. We'll both separate and see if we can find out about the souls that keep disappearing in Soul Society, he said, getting a nod from her. Naruto pulls out a golden royal seal badge and aimed it in front of himself. Kiryo Hikifune stood behind him, while the seal on the badge glowed and a thin yellow line formed in front of them, and afterwards it formed into a human-sized circular portal. Once it was fully opened, they stepped through the portal and it closed behind them. Godai 13 District. The Sankaman opened up and Hikifune and Naruto appeared out of the portal and into the district, and it was currently night time. It's dark and the place is clear of patrols. Excellent, he says and pulls Tsukiyomi, Moon Goddess, out, and a white aura surround the sword while the reflection of the moon appears on the silver blade. Megaka Kisha Shirko no Tokoemi. Tsukiyomi, shine upon the everlasting darkness, Moon Goddess, he chanted. A bright light coats them and then slowly spreads throughout the Godai 13 and then disappears. Naruto smirks and then sheathes his blade, but then a frown forms on his face. That's odd, he said, getting Hikifune's attention. What is it, Naruto-kun? She asked. Someone managed to protect themselves from the illusion I placed all over the district. Either that person is immune to illusions, which is highly impossible, or that person has an illusion-based Zanpakuto as well, and a powerful one at that, he states while Hikifune frowns. But I thought Tsukiyomi's illusions were more powerful in the moonlight. How can someone overcome it when her powers are at their fullest when there's a full moon? She asked while Naruto thought about it. I honestly don't know, Funchan, but whoever it is that can avoid her moonlight illusion at its fullest must be skilled in using his or her Zanpakuto's abilities, he said as he sheathes his blade, but then senses a group of souls disappearing. We'll worry about that later. I just sensed a small group of souls vanishing from this realm. Let's go, he said, and they shunput to the location. Forest of Rukongai. Naruto and Hikari appeared in the field only to find a set of clothes lying on the ground but no one in them. The blonde slowly approaches them and kneels down, placing a hand on the clothes. This is very strange. Souls just don't up and disappear like nothing. Izanami wasn't kidding when she said that the souls just completely vanish yet they don't descend to her realm. Someone or something is causing souls to cease to exist in this plane and ascend to the next, he said. Hikifune reached into her cloak and pulled out a black square electronic device that starts to beep and scans the area, making her eyes widen. Naruto, look at this, she said, walking over to him and handing the device to him. Naruto looks at the screen and his eyes widen in surprise. These are remaining traces of hollow-class spiritual energy. Does that mean that a hollow is responsible for the soul disappearance? He asked Hikifune, who shook her head. No, because there are small traces of human and Shinigami soul particles merged with the hollow particles. Hollows completely devour the souls of their victims, leaving no traces. In order to become stronger, they absorb the soul completely, but someone is experimenting in combining human and Shinigami souls with hollow souls, and the result of doing this causes the souls to become unbalanced and end up imploding and ceasing to exist, he said while Hikifune gasped and covered her mouth with her hands. 9 years later. Ever since that event, the two Shinigami of the Zero Division have been trying to find info on the disappearances that have been happening for the past 9 years. One night they found out that Yamamoto had sent 5 captains to search for the missing captain and lieutenant of the 9th Division, since they haven't reported in for the last couple of hours since they were ordered to search for what was responsible for the souls missing. the new captain of the 12th Division. Kisuke Urahara requested that he be allowed to assist in the investigation since his lieutenant hasn't reported in for the last couple of hours either and feared for the worst, but the man's request was denied by the captain commander, which made Naruto frown at this. But later on that night Kisuke decided to go against the captain's orders and he, along with the captain of the Kido Corps, Tezai Tsukabshi, headed out to aid the other captains. Later that night, Urahara and Tezai made their timely arrival to stop the 5th Division Lieutenant, Sosuke Aizen, from dispatching his captain. Following the event, Urahara asked Aizen what he was doing there. Aizen plainly answered that he happened to be there upon the situation to help his injured captain. Urahara knew that he was deceiving him as he stated that there were no injuries on the victims. He noted that they were inflicted by a process called hollowification. Surprisingly, being happy of Urahara's successful deduction, Aizen proceeded to leave the scene of the crime with his henchmen, stating that there's nothing more to do there. To stop them from retreating, Tezai performed a high-level Kido spell against them, only to be countered by Aizen's own, allowing them to escape. With the criminals long gone, the duo was left to tend to Shinji and the rest of the victims who were deep in process of hollowification. After Urahara admitted that he could possibly help them at his lab, Tezai resolved to use a forbidden Kido spell to transport them to the 12th Division barracks. During the event, Naruto and Hikifune watched the event and were impressed that the current captain was able to perform two high-level Kido spells, with one being a forbidden spell, but the blonde couldn't help but be on edge when he saw Sosuke Aizen. The man reminded him too much of Madara Uchiha and knew that, just like his former enemy, this worked in the shadows and was also responsible for the disappearances of the souls, and despite his status as a lieutenant, the man was strong enough to at least take on a captain-level Shinigami. Especially with the abilities of his Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu, he wouldn't be surprised if everyone in the divisions minus him and Hikifune were under the complete hypnosis spell the blade conjured. Come on, Hikifune, we've got a captain and his comrades to aid. Knowing those people at Central 46, they'll be having guards at his doors soon, he stated, and they shunpa to the 12th Division district. In his lab, Urahara tried to reverse the process using his created item, the Hogyoku. Unfortunately, it ended up as a failed process, not having the desired effect Urahara expected, and afterwards he fell asleep. Naruto and Hikifune appeared in the man's quarters and found Kisuke snoring on the desk. A tick mark appeared on Naruto's face while Hikifune's sweat dropped. How in the world did he become in charge of my old division? She mumbled while Naruto walked over to the desk, grabbed Kisuke by the end of his collar and flung him into the wall head first. Go grab the Kido expert and the captains that are in the lab and head to the Sokaiku Hill, he said to Hikifune, who nods and shunpos away. Kisuke slouched to the ground, groaning and rubbing his head in pain. He looked up only to see a man in a hooded cloak with blue eyes staring down at him. Who are he started to say until Naruto picked Kisuke up by his collar. Kisuke Urahara? Naruto asked, getting a nod from the man. You need to leave now, he said, making the man's eyes widen. What? Wait a minute, who are you? He asked, now fully awake. For now I'm an ally. I know about Aizen and we have to leave because Central 46 is sending their guards to arrest you and Tezai for your actions last night, he replied and set the man down. Oh, last night, but he started to say. Aizen has framed you with documents on you performing experiments based off of hollowifications and used the abilities of his Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu to pull it off. You need to leave now, Naruto said sternly. Kisuke could tell that Naruto wasn't lying and nods. I see, but I need to get he started to say until Naruto pulled a black suitcase out of his cloak. Your Zanpakuto as well as everything else you created is in this, he says and tosses the case to him, which he catches. Now come on. My partner got everyone else out of your lab and have headed to the Sokaiku Hill, Naruto says. I see, and that's a good thing because I have a hidden training area underneath the hill where we can meet a good friend of mine, Kisuke states, getting a nod from Naruto. Good, now get going, he says, and they shunpa out of the district. An hour later, Kisuke was in the underground training room underneath the Sokaiku Hill and saw Tezai and the unconscious captains and lieutenants in the place. He was about to speak up until he heard a voice he was familiar with. Kisuke. He turned around to see Yoruichi Shihoin walk in the training area. Yoruichi? I thought you would already be here by now. What took you so? Bonk. Ow. Kisuke cried as he fell on his ass, clutching his head in pain due to the fact that his childhood friend karate chopped him in the middle of his head hard. Where the hell were you? I spent the last hour and a half searching after you, Yabaka, she asked with an annoyed expression on her face while the man sat back up blinking and rubbing his head. You were, but I was already informed about Central 46 sending guards to arrest me, and Tez sighed, but he explained. There's no need to explain, Urahara-san. I'm already here, Naruto said as he walked around a large rock with his black shinobi gi and customized Haori. And so is my partner. Hikifune appeared out of nowhere with her Zero Division uniform on as next thing Naruto knew he felt a tanto placed near his throat courtesy of Yoruichi Shihoin. Who are and how did you find this place? She demanded in a low and dangerous tone. Naruto remained calm and a small smile plastered on his face. Yoruichi Shihoin. I must say that your skill in Shuinpa is incredible, he stated and faded away, shocking the master of stealth and assassination until she felt a tri-pronged kunai placed near her throat. But despite possessing the title Shunshin, Flash Goddess, you're nowhere even close to my skill in Shuinpa, he said with a smile on his face. Yoruichi's eyes widened in surprise and disbelief while Kasuke and Tezai were stunned. When did he get behind me? I didn't even sense his movements, she thought while he removed the kunai from her neck. Hikifune on the other hand rolled her eyes at how Naruto was showing off. That was when Kasuke spoke up. You still haven't told us who you two were yet, he stated, and Naruto rubbed the back of his head and chuckles. Sorry about that. Now then, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the current Taicho of the Zero Division, he said, and the three Shinigami's eyes bugged out and their jaws dropped to the ground and silence filled the air. Naruto on the other hand chuckled at their stunned reactions. Shocking, isn't it? He asked. Yoruichi was the first to snap out of her stupor. What? But you haven't been seen in the last millennia, she shouted while inside her mind, a chibi version of herself was jumping up and down squealing. Ever since she was little, Naruto had become her inspiration in mastering both Akudo, hand-to-hand combat, and Shunpa, flash step, to the point where she'd become a legend like him. The blonde was an inspiration to every Shinigami out there due to the fact that he was not only one of the founders of Soul Society and the Soul Academy, but he was in charge of every division as well as a master in all the Shinigami arts and had no equal. The only Shinigami that ever came close to being Naruto's equal was Yamamoto Shigekuni Genryosai, the Suteicho of the Goti 13. He was also the only on in history aside from Kairaku Shunsui and Jushiro Yukitake to ever gain more than one Zanpakuto. Naruto looked at her calmly and spoke up. Yes, I have been gone for a while to say the least. Now then, my partner who helped Tesai-san and the hollow-fied captains and lieutenants get here is the former captain of the 12th Division, Kiryo Hikifune, he said, which caused Kasuke's eyes to grow into the size of dinner plates. H. Hikifune-san? He asked, pointing a shaky finger at the former Taicho who smirked. Hey stupid genius, and hey to you as well, Yoruichi-chan, she said to them. Naruto spoke up afterwards. Now then, we should all head on to the real world and I'll explain everything there. We'll be residing in Karakuta town, which is located in Japan, since I already have some land bought in that place, and will be our place of operation, he said, pulling out the royal seal badge which opened up a Senkaman gate to said town and the land as well as the compound Naruto brought. Yoruichi and Tezai helped Hikifune get the others and head into the gate. Oh, and Kasuke, Naruto said, getting the man's attention. I want to know everything about that man Aizen and his intentions once we get settled in, and you better not leave any info out, understand? He asked the man in a serious voice, who in return nodded and had several jigai ready for them and the soon-to-be vizard group. Several hours later, after they all got settled into the compound Naruto had purchased along with the land, Naruto decided now was the time to explain why he and Hikifune were here. Now you three are all wondering what two of the Soul Queen's highest-ranking officers are doing her, right? He asked, getting nods from the three. Are you three aware of the souls that have been disappearing in Soul Society for the last 9 years? He asked, getting wide eyes from them. 9 years? We didn't know about the disappearances until a month ago, Yoruichi stated while Naruto smirks. And that is why the Zero Division has eyes and ears all over the Seriitii as well as the Goti 13. After all, the Queen of the Shinigami should always know what her subordinates are up to, no matter how minuscule it is. That is why she sent us to find out what's been happening to the souls that were supposed to go back into her realm and be reincarnated, he finished in a serious tone, and that was when Hikifune spoke up. Aizen apparently is the one responsible for the disappearances and has been doing experiments on both human and Shinigami souls by trying to merge them with the essence of hollows, and he's been doing it behind your backs ever since, she explained. But the real question is, how could Aizen deceive all of us without anyone's notice? Tezai asked while Naruto frowned. Apparently Aizen possesses an illusion-based Zanpakuto known as Kyoka Sujetsu, Mirror Flower, Water Moon, which has the ability to control the 5 senses to the point that it can make the target misinterpret another person's form, shape, mass, feel and smell to be that of the enemy, he explained to the shocked trio. I see, but how could he activate it without anyone noticing? Kisuke asks while Naruto ponders on this and then smirks. I think I have a theory since I too possess an illusion-based Zanpakuto, he said and drew Tsukiyomi from the sheath while the other 3 wonder why he did that. Megaka Kisha Shirko no Tokoemi, Tsukiyomi, shine upon the everlasting darkness moon goddess, he chanted and a flash of light surrounded everyone for a few seconds and then it cleared. Kisuke, Yoruichi, and Tezai blinked in confusion. Nothing happened, Yoruichi said while Naruto smirks. Really? 2 voices said between her. She looked on both sides to see 2 Narutos standing beside her with smirks on their faces, but then she saw replicas of Hikifune as well. As you can see, Yoruichi, Tsukiyomi also has the ability to control the senses of those that set their sight on the moonlight that emits from her blade. But that's not all she can do. The 2 Narutos and Hikifunes disappear in a flash of light, and then the cross guard glowed red for a few seconds. They suddenly found themselves in a world where the sky and moon was red and the compound as well as them were black with white outlines. What is his place? Kisuke asks as he looks around. This Kisuke is my Zanpakuto's second ability called Tsukuyomi, Moon Reader. It's a powerful illusion-based technique where the target is trapped in a world where the user, which is me, can control time, space and well as mass. In this world I am God and I can use this technique to torture and break you spiritually and mentally or just to privately talk. I can also have you all experience the past horrors of your lives. In here a few seconds would feel like hours, hours would feel like days, days feel like months, months feel like years, and years feel like an eternity, he explained while they remained speechless. There is only a few ways to break the illusion, which is to have a strong mindset and spirit, he explained, and with a snap of his fingers the world shattered and went black. Kisuke, Yoruichi, and Tezai suddenly found themselves back in the compound, remaining in the same spot as last time. While that felt strange, Kisuke stated while Naruto grinned. Yeah, you'll get used to that, especially since you've only been in that world for only a few seconds, he stated as he sheathes his Zanpakuto. Now as for my theory on Aizen's Zanpakuto, it either releases something like an odorless mist, or a light like Tsukiyomi does, but the activation is located where it can target the 5 senses easily instantly, such as the guard, blade, or even the hilt, he explained, and who knows? It's possible that he used its illusion on every captain in Soul Society. It's a possibility, Kisuke stated. So what now, Naruto-san? Kisuke asked and a pissed look appeared on Naruto's face. Before I get to that, as of now I'm really pissed off with Yamamoto as well as all of Soul Society, Naruto stated, getting confused looks from the 3 while Hikifune frowned. I left that old fool in charge of Soul Society's well-being while I'm gone, and he allows a bunch of fucking civilians who I highly doubt have never seen a hollow in their life push him around, he said while the knuckles in his closed fists cracked slightly, making them all wince. The Central 46 shouldn't have any form of power whatsoever over the Shinigami except to govern the districts. I swear I'll completely destroy the Central 46. I created them and I can easily destroy them, especially with the crap they pulled a long time ago, he stated, and Kisuke frowned. You mean like the genocide of the Quincy? Kisuke asked and Naruto nodded. Killing humans simply because they are different sickens me. He sighed as he ran a hand through his hair to calm himself down, since that report reminded him of when Madara had the Yondaime Mizukage start the bloodline purge in Kirigakure. Quincy's deserves as much respect as the Shinigami would, and I swear those old fools will pay for their actions towards them, he stated softly. So what is it that Aizen is after? Hikifune asked Urahara, who sighed. The Hogyoku. The 2 raised a brow when Urahara answered. A few years back, I was coming up with a way to strengthen souls and the Hogyoku was the result, the scientist explained. It was a way to erase the line between Shinigami and Hollow, and he didn't get to finish because a pissed-off Naruto had grabbed the man by his collar and slammed him into the wall, releasing Ki on the stump. Man, you idiot, do you realize what you've done? What the hell were you thinking, creating something as dangerous as that? Naruto yelled at Kisuke. Please, I never meant to make it as powerful as it is now, and I tried many different methods in destroying it. I only wanted to help Soul Society, not harm it. He strained out with his hands on Naruto's wrists. Hikifune placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, and said Blonde looked back at her, and saw the solemn look on her face. He sighed heavily and released his grip on the man's throat. "I'm sorry, Kasuke-san," he said, and leaned against the wall, and slowly slid down, rubbing the bridge of his nose with his index and middle finger. "All of that damn hard work I put in creating a place where souls could live together in peace without having to suffer like they did in the mortal plane is now a breeding ground for arrogant and greedy nobles, who only care about themselves," he said in a depressed tone, while Hikifune crouched down and gave his shoulder a comforting squeeze. The three former Shinigami could feel Naruto's depressed mood. According to history, he worked hard to create Soul Society and bring peace. It must have been a vision-shattering thing to him as he saw all he worked hard for go to waste. Uchiha felt sympathy for the blonde. He himself tried changing laws with the Central 46. But they flat out denied any attempt, saying they had the infinite wisdom of the Soul Queen. The place was quiet for a few seconds until Tezai spoke. "Namikaze-san, from what I read in Soul Society's history textbooks, you were a person who believed that anyone can gain what they want through hard work, and could overcome anything, including those who are considered geniuses in the eyes of others," he said, while the captain on the Zero Division and everyone else listened. "You were considered an inspiration to every Shinigami in Soul Society, even the ones who didn't believe in themselves, especially when you made a certain motto that the Taichos, Fukuteichos, and seated officers follow. I believe it was those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades, family, or friends for trivial things like honor and their reputation are lower than trash. I'd have to say that Kasuke and Yoruichi-san followed that motto," he stated, making the two rub the back of their heads in embarrassment. "You even stated that anything can be rebuilt in time." Naruto chuckled. "Yes, I did say that. I knew I was an inspiration, but to almost every Shinigami in Soul Society I wouldn't have believed it," he said, and Hikifune helped him up until Yoruichi spoke up. "Naruto-san, it was also stated that you had 2 more Zanpakuto, but I don't see them," she said while he smirked. "That's because I placed them in seals I created on my person so that way I can always arm myself with them whenever I need to, plus their shuriken isn't meant to be used indoors and are too flashy, if you get my drift," he stated. "Oh," was all she said. "Now then, before we even think about dealing with Aizen, I believe our guests need to know about their new condition and be trained in it," he said, getting nods from everyone. "For now our best bet is to keep a low profile from Soul Society until Aizen decided to make a move in the future. Now let's go, we've got a lot of work to do and little time to do it," he finished, and they start to discuss their plans on how to deal with Aizen later on in the future. A week has passed since Naruto, Kasuke, Yoruichi, Tezai, and Hikifune left Soul Society with the former Taichos and Fukuteichos, now turned vizards. Right now, said Blonde was talking with Kasuke while Hikifune and Tezai were setting up the compound that Naruto bought. Right now Naruto was wearing some new clothes that were similar to the ninja uniform his father wore, especially the white coat that had blue flames licking the edges as well as flames on the sleeves with the kanji flash on the back, and also wore a pair of fingerless gloves. Right now he was sitting in the living room with Kasuke, who was dressed in new clothes, which was a black coat with white diamond patterns on the end and a green gi with green short pants and a cane along with a pair of Geta sandals. "So how long until our friends wake up?" Naruto asked Kasuke, who pondered on this. "Today, since their bodies have managed to adjust to their holification and in the untraceable gigas I made," he answered while his fellow blonde nodded. "That's good to hear. And where's the little Nico?" Naruto asked with a smirk on his face while Kasuke snickered at his pet name for Yoruichi. "Still doing some recon in Soul Society, and with her skills no one will even know she's there," Kasuke said, and got a nod with Naruto. "That's good to hear. Well, I'm gonna go check up on our new guests," he said as he got up and walked off. Underground training area. Shinji Hirako groaned as he woke up in the futon. What the hell happened? He thought, rubbing his neck. The last thing I saw was Aizen dash. As he looked around until his eyes shot open in shock, he then saw a note next to him. "To the former Taicho, 5th Division. Take these clothes and all will be explained. Signed, a friend." Shinji narrowed his eyes at the note but then slipped on the clothes, which consisted of black slacks and a burnt orange dress shirt with a light yellow tie. He then picked up his Zanpakuto, which had an hourglass for a hilt and a red cloth around the handle and was in the form of a katana. "So, you're finally up," a gruff voice said. Shinji turned around to see a man leaning on a rock-like wall. He had a black tank top with white edgings. Then he had green cargo pants and black combat boots and a wakizashi in his hands while crossing his arms. "I've been waiting for several hours," he walked up to Shinji. Shinji shook his head. What the hell is going on here? He asked, you went berserk on us, you know? Kensei nodded, confirming what had happened. I know. Apparently my inner hollow went out of control. Shinji blinked, giving an intelligent huh? Kensei sighed at this. For now, what you need to know is that I'm better and the others are unconscious but fine, he said shortly. Shinji looked to a small alcove to see Love Iwaka, Rojuro Odoribishi as well as Hiyori Saragaki along with Hashigan Ashoda, Lisa Yadamar and Mishiro Kuna, you all know what they wear, who were also in their giges. After a couple of minutes have passed, the other were up and were wondering where they were at. What the hell? Why, Shinji, where are we? An irate Hiyori asked the former captain of the 5th Division. It would seem we are in the human world and we are in giges, Hachigen stated while the others looked at their new set of clothes and saw their Zanpakuto laying beside them. And that would be a correct assumption on your part, said a calm voice which startled them, and they saw Naruto sitting cross-legged on a boulder. It's about time you guys woke up. I was starting to think Aizen's little experiment on you guys would have finished you off, he said and leapt of the rock. How do you know about Aizen? Shinji asked, but then his eyes widened. Unless... Oh, please cut that train of thought right there. That brat doesn't hold a candle to me. I've been around before he was even a gleam in the Soul Queen's eye. You should all know who I am from the history in the Soul Academy, Naruto stated while they each had a look of confusion on their faces. He does seem familiar, Love stated and looks at Naruto for a while until Kensei's eyes widened in disbelief. Why you're Naruto Namikaze, he stammered out, causing the other's eyes to widen until Machiro blinked in confusion and tilted her head to the side. Nani? Who's the dandelion Kensei? The green-haired wizard asked the man whose face faltered and shot back up, glaring at the green-haired Shinigami while a tick mark formed on Naruto's head. Did that brat just call me a dandelion? Naruto asked with a forced smile on his face. Machiro. You baka! You're looking at the first Shinigami aside from Suteicho Yamamoto to ever exist. He was the founder and creator of the 13 divisions and mastered all of the forms of the Shinigami arts. Kensei yelled at his simple-minded subordinate, who blinked and scratched her cheek with her index finger. He's one of the founders? He doesn't look old like an old man, Hiyori stated. Plus, how do we know he's not a fraud? Her answer was her freezing up when she gazed into Naruto's cold and murderous eyes, which made her break into a cold sweat and her knees to buckle. Her throat felt like it was being crushed by an invisible hand that was wrapped around her neck. The feeling she had suddenly died off and she was able to breathe normally. Does that answer your question, Gaki? If I can make you break with just a mere gaze, imagine what I could do with my spirit pressure. You'd more than like die from a heart attack if I were to release 5% of my power, Naruto said in a serious manner as he walked towards them. Now then, we have a serious problem. Due to Aizen's little experiment, you all are now Shinigami who have gained hollow powers, or in other words vizards, which means masked soldiers. If you guys even wish to stand a chance against fighting Aizen in the future, then you have to get ready by training to master your hollowifications, Naruto explained. One question, Naruto-sama, Rose asked his fellow blonde. How do you know so much about vizards? Naruto looked back at him and back at the others. How do I know? Simple. He placed his right hand over his face, which glowed a golden with a red outline, until he swiped his hand away and was now sporting a mask that was in the shape of a fox and had 3 jagged red-like markings and seemed to be snarling at them. The scaras of his eyes were black, with the irises being yellow like a hollow's with slit pupils. I was the first to ever become a wizard, he stated, getting shocked look from them. The only difference is that I have full control over my hollow powers. The mask dissipated and Naruto's face returned to normal. I will be teaching you all how to use your new powers properly, and believe me when I say it won't be easy. Not only that, but I'm gonna teach you all how to face Aizen. Shinji raised an eyebrow at this. What do you mean, how to face Aizen, Naruto-san? The fellow blonde asked the captain of the 0 division. What I meant by that was facing his Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu. It is a powerful illusion-based Zanpakuto that can nullify and manipulate one's senses. I wouldn't be surprised if all the divisions are under the blade spell, Naruto explained, making their eyes widen. Aizen, on the other, is a different story. Someone like him is probably hiding his true skills, so we don't know what he's capable of doing. You know this from experience, Naruto-san? Kensei asked the blonde, who nodded. From the time I used to be alive, then yes, Naruto answered. So how will you be teaching us how to use our new powers? Lisa asked, and Naruto looked back at her. To put it simply, you're gonna have to face you inner hollows for control over your new abilities as well as your body, Kisuke Uehara said as he walked into the training dojo, and the former captain's and lieutenant's eyes widened in shock. You! Hiyori shouted and pointed an accusing finger at Kisuke, who grinned back. Hey, if it isn't my cute lieutenant, how are you doing, Hiyori-chan? The blonde genius asked cheerfully, only to get mule kicked in the face by the blonde with pigtails in her hair and sent crashing into a boulder. Dumbass baka, it's because of you we're in this damn situation, she muttered while Naruto's sweat dropped. We're really gonna have to work on your temper, Sarigaki, Naruto stated, and got a heated glare from here. Piss off, porcupine head! No one asked your opinion on my. She suddenly found herself being hoisted up by the back of her collar by none other than an irate Naruto, who now had a vein throbbing from his head and was staring him dead in the eyes. You're really starting to work my nerves, Gaki, and for you that's a bad thing. If you were to fight Aizen in the condition you're in now, he'd kill you on the spot, he said harshly, making her cringe under his gaze and look like a child who was being scolded by a parent for throwing a tantrum. Your former leader would be disappointed in how you're acting like a child. He then dropped her on her, but still keeping his gaze on the former lieutenant of the 12th Division. She suddenly perked up when he mentioned her former leader. Wait, how do you know about Hikifune Taicho? She asked Naruto until she felt a hand pressed on top of her head. Because he's my Taicho, answered a calm and feminine voice. The other vizards gawked at who they saw. Hikifune Taicho? I heard she was one of the royal guards of the 0 Division, Rose stated, but when he looked at Naruto his eyes widened. But if that's the case, then he must be the Taicho of the Re-Bantai 0 Division. This caused the others' eyes to bug out and look at Naruto in shock. Hiyori was stumped when she saw the person whom she considered as a mother figure was standing before her. Kiryo I smiled and pats her former subordinate on the top of her head. You've grown since I left Yori-chan, but we'll catch up later after Naruto-kun explains everything, she stated, and got a nod from Hiyori. Naruto on the other hand walked over to the rubble Kisuke was in and saw a leg stick out and crouches down. A bucket hat, stop playing opossum and get your ass up unless you want to assist in my demonstration for the next 5 hours, he ordered with an evil grin on his face. That right there caused the blonde to leap out of the rubble, and was now sweating bullets, and Naruto I smiled. Afterwards, Naruto schedules the days they would train to face their inner hollows, and once they've defeated them, train them in how to extend the time limit on how long they can use their masks. During the process, the only ones who had gained dominance over their inner hollows so far was Shinji, Hachijin, Kensei, Love, and Rose. Mishiro was able to keep her mask up for about 15 hours, which stumped the others, especially Naruto. Lisa was able to fully dominate her inner hollow, but Hiyori was a little difficult, and Naruto had to resort to knocking her out to keep her inner hollow from fully emerging. After a few days of having her meditate, she was finally able to beat her inner hollow, but still had to go through meditation and work on her temper, much to her annoyance, but had to comply. Underground training dojo. In the training area, an explosion of dust and debris was seen rising into the sky. Leaping out of it was none other than Kensei Mugirumo, who was donning his hollow mask. His hollow mask resembles a flat hockey face guard with 6 slitted eye holes arranged in 2 columns. It has 3 extensions on either side which cover the sides and back of his head. His lieutenant, Mishiro Kuna, who also was donning her hollow mask which took the form of a hornet or bee. Kensei, we've been at this for hours. When will Dandelion Head give us a break? She cried, making a tick mark appear on his head and glare at the green-haired female Shinigami. Shut it, Mishiro. You've been complaining ever since our training has started, and it's getting annoying, and stay focused unless you want to die. He shot back. Did you just call me a dandelion head again, Mishiro? Said an annoyed voice behind Mishiro, who squeaked and avoids being turned to dust by a red Zero. Yikes. Foxy-chan, are you trying to kill me? She shouted at the hybrid, whose finger was smoking and a tick mark formed on his head. What did I tell you about making pet names? He said, and fired another Zero that was faster than the last one at her. Kensei appeared and blocked the attack, but the speed behind it was able to force him back a little until he let out a roar and flung it to the side. Good move there, Kensei. Always look out for your comrade no matter how annoying they are. I'm also impressed that you managed to stop my Zero, since that wasn't even a fraction of its real power. The blonde stated, and he shunpoed in front of a shocked Kensei and delivered a roundhouse kick at his neck, sending him flying into the ground. Mishiro appeared over Naruto's head with her right leg up. Mishiro kick! She cried out and brought down an axe kick at Naruto's skull, only for said blonde to stop it with just an index finger. And Nanny? Naruto looked up and then grabbed her ankle. Baka, what have I told you about basing your attacks off your name, and calling them out like that? He simply flung her away and she crashed into a large rock structure that collapsed over her. Afterwards he looked out of the corner of his eyes to see a flash of silver descend at his head, so he sidestepped the sword thrust and Lisa bypassed him. Her hollow mask is lozenge-shaped with a cross-shaped opening, instead of a mouth and eye slits. However, the horizontal opening allows her to see in front of her. That was very sneaky of you, Lisa-chan. He chastised and pulled out his sheathed katana, Tsukiyomi, and blocked 2 overhead strikes delivered by Love and Rose. Love's hollow mask was in the form of a traditional Japanese oni mask, while Rose's was in the form of a bird beak that stuck outwards. Naruto breaks the attack and spins his body in order to deliver a roundhouse kick to Hiyori's stomach, making her gasp out in pain and float down, clutching her stomach, and then he pointed his index and middle finger at the other 2 and fired 2 small Siro blasts at them, causing an explosion and sending their smoking forms flying backwards. 2 straightforward Hiyori-gaki. If that was my blade, then you'd be dead, he stated, and he turned his head to see a Siro heading straight for him, but when it got close he simply kicked it away while Shinji, who was donning his mummified mask, appeared behind Naruto and swings his blade horizontally only for a hexagonal-like barrier to appear and block the attack. Smart move, Shinji, using your Siro to distract me while attempting to attack my blind spot. Naruto turned his head around and was about to draw his blade until he was ensnared by several yellow energy chains. Naruto looked down and saw Hashigan's palms clapped together. He was donning his hollow mask, which resembles a traditional Balinese demon mask, with tusks and protrusions from the top. A row of feather-like spikes also stick out from the top of the mask, similar to a Native American headdress. Good use of performing Kido without the incantations, Hachi-san, but Naruto uses his enhanced strength to easily break free of the level 60 spell, which surprises Hachi since only Kensei was able to pull that off. You should know that even without the incantation a spell's power is lessened. Okasen, yellow fire flash. Naruto raises Tsukiyomi horizontally in front of him and generates a yellow orb that widens itself along the length of the sword and fires outward as a horizontal blast in a wide arc of yellow energy at Hachi, who forms a barrier around himself while the blast hit it, though the force from it did cause some cracks to form and was sent crashing into a rock structure. Though in my case I don't have to worry about that issue since I always kept up my training, Naruto stated. A shadow loomed over him and he looked up to see what appeared to be Love wielding a large black kanabo, more than twice the height of Love himself. It is covered with bladed protrusions, and the handle itself is almost taller than Love. Hifuki no Kazuki, fire-blowing gavel. Love swings Tengamaru up and it ignites itself in flames. He then points it downwards and a huge fireball fires from the tip and ascends towards Naruto. Said blonde reared his left arm back and red static started to form around his arm, as did red spirit energy forms and hardens around his limb. Bala, bullet. He fires and releases it like a swift blast of spiritual energy, and it heads towards the fire-based attack. As it makes contact, it doesn't dissipate, it instead punches a hole in the middle of the attack. Love was wondering why his attack was splitting until he saw a red blast of energy head towards him. Oh sure. Boom! The attack hits Love, causing an explosion to occur, and he was sent sailing across the training area. As this happened, Naruto appeared above a surprised Love and placed a hand over the man's chest. Sokatsui, pale fire crash. Naruto fires a blue Ryatsu blast that hits Love's chest and is sent sailing into the ground, and when he makes contact, an explosion occurs. Naruto raises his hand to high mask and with a single swipe, it dissipates. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a stopwatch that blinks a few times. He suddenly stops and roundhouse kick courtesy of Mishiro, who was donning her hollow mask, and pulls her down to his level. Up. He finished with a tick mark on his head and then brings his hand up to her forehead and flicks her on the middle of her mask, making it shatter and sending her crashing right into a groaning Love, who cries out in pain. She's worse than Hiyori, I swear, he muttered while Kensei appeared beside him with his mask off. Tell me about it. I can tell you all the times I wanted to wring her neck, Naruto-san, the white-haired man stated. Naruto on the other hand chuckles while Shinji appears with an unconscious Hiyori over his shoulder, and Lisa, who seemed to be exhausted due to how she was panting. Rose appeared and his face and hair seemed to be scorched from the Siro Naruto fired, and Hachi lost the sleeve to his right arm. Love also appeared with his shade lenses cracked, holding Mishiro by the back of her collar, and she had swirls in her eyes. Not bad, you guys, you've improved a lot in the last year. The only thing you need to remember is to continue to use teamwork and watch each other's back, he stated. Enjoy the rest of the day off, but don't start any trouble. Be sure to pass that on to Hiyori and Machiro, and if they disobey, tell them I'll be doubling their training, he said, and leaves them to their own devices. Naruto was back in the compound and decided to head into his room. As he did, he saw Kiryo sleeping soundly on his futon since she spent all night helping Kisuke with a new device that can get them to go from Soul Society back to the human world as well as Hueco Mundo. He couldn't help but smile at her exhausted and sleeping form and was keeping in a laugh due to the fact that she was holding onto a stuffed fox plushie. He crouches down and brushes away a strand of hair, and she shifted in her sleep a little. Naruto no baka, I want my full body massage or it's no sex for a week, she muttered, which made him blush a little. Meow. Naruto turned his head and saw a black cat perched on the window staring at Naruto with its golden-colored eyes. He smirks and walks over to the window and leans onto it, smirking at the cat, who tilted her head to the side. Hello, Yoruichi-chan, he said, and uses his index finger to stroke her under her chin, getting a purr from the former captain. She then hopped off the window and landed on the ground, transforming into her human form. She's wearing the clothes she had during the invasion in Soul Society, and smirking at Naruto. Hello to you too, Naruto-kun. Did you have fun training your fellow vizards? She asked, grinning at the blonde, who shrugged. Yeah, but it wasn't as fun as it was last year. I think Hiyori is starting to figure out who's been putting itching powder into her underwear drawers, he stated, causing the Flash Goddess to snort but cover her mouth when she heard Kiryo moan and turn her body to the side, mumbling. I think it would be wise if we didn't wake her up. Unlike Kisuke, Hikifune can be even scarier than old man Yamamoto if woken up. Naruto nodded at her suggestion, and they shunpa out of the compound forest. The two masters of Flash Step each appear on a tree branch and look at each other with grins on their faces. So what are the rules this time? Yoruichi asked while Naruto's grin grew. You have until the moon rises to touch my cloak, and also, Yoruichi felt her long hair fall down and Naruto had her ribbon in his hand. You have to get this back from me. Yoruichi remained stumped because he didn't even move from his spot and blinked a few times. Okay, I know I didn't blink. How can you move that fast? She asked, getting a chuckle from the blonde. I told you, Nico-chan, back in my old life I was one of the fastest people alive, and I intended to keep that title even in death. Not even the old coot could match my speed if he went all out. I'll admit you are fast for someone so young, but you'll need at least 1,000 years worth of training to even come close to catching me. He teased and shumpos away while Yoruichi mutters about blonde assholes mocking her reputation as the fastest female alive and took off after him.